Hello, welcome to our Fashion Archive. How are you doing today?
Good. How are you?
Not bad. Actually, I'm very excited for this. So, yeah, I'm doing good. Doing
Thank
good.
you.
It's very nice to have you. Thank you for taking the time to join this interview. It means so much to us. Thank you. Of
Of course, no worries. Thank you for having me.
course. So, just to get started, can you tell us a bit about yourself, your name, where you're from, and what you do as an artist?
Of course. My name is Keiya Nagai. I'm Japanese Canadian, so I'm born here and raised here, and I'm a fashion designer. I just got out of college, and I just like creating my own works and having fun with fashion.
It's nice. And how long have you been into fashion, or how long have you been a designer, basically? Yeah.
Ooh, interesting question. It was actually pretty recent, I would say. I didn't really get into fashion until I really started college. Before that, I wasn't really like interested in that field. I was more in like just art and that kind of creative sense. But then at the end of high school, I'd say I started getting into fashion, and that's what made me enter fashion school. And so I'd say like 5 years, 6 years is my
Oh,
fashion history. Yeah.
interesting. Interesting. That's good. That's good. So, the purpose of this interview is to get insights into your
Mhm.
creative world and to talk about
Yeah.
your recent collection, I Don't Want to Grow Up, which you presented at LaSalle Fashion Show.
Yeah.
Congratulations on that, because I know that's like
Thank you so
huge.
much.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. The first question I have is, well, this is basically not a question. I just want to know how you feel. How do you like? How does it feel to be part of the first group of designers to present their collection at LaSalle Historic Fashion Show?
I'm I'd say I'm proud. hmm It was a great experience. I had done Vancouver Fashion Week before, but it was kind of a different experience from that as well. So it was interesting to be able to be like a part of it, and also to be able to showcase a collection that I created after I graduated school, because I feel like that made a little bit of a difference as well.
And on last, I feel like LaSalle emphasized that this runway show was about celebrating months of like intense student craftsmanship and building bridges with the industry. As both a designer and LaSalle alumnus, what do you think the significance of this runway show is, both for students participating and for Vancouver's creative scene?
I think it just really allows us to it gives us an opportunity to show who we are and show our work, just because I know Vancouver has this creative space, but there's not that too many like places where you can showcase things like that. And I feel like having a fashion show like that allows us to put ourselves out and show our things to the world.
I agree. I agree. Um, before we get into details about this collection, I'd like to know what is art to you, relating to your practice as a designer, or let's say as an artist in general. What is art to you?
What is art to me? I personally treat art as my form of expression, especially fashion, just because I feel like it it really brings out who you are as a person more than just words per se. Like, I feel like there's something about art that you can't hide about yourself in a way. Just wait, I think I don't know, it's hard to put into words, but I feel like it truly reveals who you are in a sense, in a way that, and yes, you can like redo artwork and remake artwork, but there's always something about you that stands out in terms of like your own style and your own creative expression. And in that way, I feel like art is a description of yourself. And that's what I like to use it as. So that would be my definition of art.
That actually sounds good. I feel like that's I do relate to what you just said about like not being able to put it in words, and it being like a form of expression, like your style basically, like to me, like basically, like just from what you said, like what I could get from what you said is art is like a way you express yourself in ways that you can actually express yourself with like words or
For
or
sure.
um or physically. It's kind of hard to put in words, but that does
Yes.
make a whole lot of sense, and I relate to that idea of art actually. So yeah. So I don't want to grow up seems to be quite personal. The way I see it, I feel like it's quite personal to you. It displays vulnerability, honesty, and a true dedication to your craft. Because I was present in that day, and I saw most of the designs, and I was truly curious. Like I wanted to get to know more about the stories and all of that, and that's like super beautiful. Can you tell us about the core of this collection? Like, what is this project really about, and what it means to you?
Thank you.
Yeah, yeah,
Very good question. Very interesting question. The core of my collection, I would say it's kind of this like ambiguous feeling, this ambivalence between like, again, I need to grow up, I don't want to grow up, I want to grow up, but I don't want to grow up. And it's really trying to find that space in between. And again, it's like this feeling that you can't describe in words. So I try to put it into a sense where it's like all these different dimensions. And that's why I came up with all these like different looks that tell like a different aspect of this feeling. And that's where the core is, I would say. Um, Also, the core is kind of not just, it's definitely about me and definitely comes from my experiences, my feelings, but I wanted to create a collection that resonates with just like the mass and society. So the core is at this like feeling that we all have, but we don't really talk about, and a feeling that we all have, but we can't, again, describe in words. And I wanted to use that core feeling and turn it into a way where we can communicate with each other and talk about it with each other, kind of thing, I would say.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Again, that's like super beautiful because like me getting to know like this is what the core is, or like this is what the core of this collection is, and it already did that to me personally because I delved more into it and I was able to like have these conversations with myself and I was trying to like relate it to the collection. It's almost like it started off something in my head, and now I had to like touch that part of like not wanting to grow up and like wanting to grow up. It just made me reflect more, which is beautiful again. Um, I really am a fan of this collection. Honestly, I am.
Thank you so much.
For sure, for sure. So there's a distinct untraditional quality to this collection that everyone notices. It carries like intentionally missing elements like detached sleeves, alongside like non-textile objects like landline phones, keys, and notes. What was your thought process when deciding on these final elements for like the looks? Because I'm super curious. I want to know how you actually came about all of those and like deciding, okay, like this is the final element for this look.
Um, the big one really for me is symbolism. I like to make sure that every little element of like all the looks has some sort of meaning to it. But when I think about symbolism, I try not to make it too complicated, but also not too obvious. So I like it to put it in between that. And the reason why I use things like phones and keys is because I think each and every one of those things carries like different meanings and it can be interpreted in many different ways. But I think those items are things that we see around us and we all know and we can all relate to. And that's why I included those, just because I feel like, again, it has like depth and different meanings to it, but it can also be interpreted by all different people without having to think too hard into it. That's what I kind of like, because I like being able to like hide meanings and hide stories within my work, but I wanted to be able to, I want like other people to be able to understand it and see it and kind of connect without like thinking too deeply into it. And so that's why I included those things.
Okay, yeah, that's good. That's good. The like the hiding of like meaning, but still making it relatable, right? Like still making people being able to like understand. Like when they look deep, like basically like when they look deep, yeah, like they could actually understand what those symbols are like trying to like talk about or trying to like signify. That's yeah, that's good. That's really really good. I've always thought about art as like people taking their time to look deeply into creations. Basically, I have this saying like if you're just gonna like look at whatever someone has created and then you get it immediately, then I don't think there's any fun in that. Like you have to be able to like take your time,
Exactly.
stop, reflect, and think, and then you can go into that world to understand what that stuff is about. So that's
That's
beautiful. I like that.
yeah, that's part of why I kind of use those symbols because I think, in a sense, you can kind of get the meaning just by looking at it for like a split second, like on an Instagram post or whatever. But also that I wanted that to be able to, I wanted to use that to like get people to get more engaged into it. Like, I want people to be like interested instantly, but also like look deeply into it and find more meaning in the story as well.
Yeah, I agree. That's beautiful. Um, so I have a second question for you actually. So looking at the garment, there's a clear connection between your raw thoughts and your execution and then the final piece. It's almost like a straight line. Like like I could tell as an observer basically I could look at your raw thoughts, look at the execution and then look at the final piece. And I just want to know like how you manage to translate these emotions onto the fabric while aligning your designs, like still tell the story.
Hmm, my thoughts. I guess just being really honest is a big one. Like I again, like I feel like I said this before, but you can't really hide what you're really thinking. It's kind of like for me, because art is a form of expression, I wanted to be honest with my thoughts. And so again, using these straightforward symbols, using like colors and textures that like evoke emotions without having to think too deeply. And yeah, also things just I would say like using like these mediums that people are like very familiar with. For example, like people know what suits are and people know what a t-shirt looks like. And so just incorporating things like that to connect my thoughts into really form is part of my process, I would say, if that answers your question.
That does answer my question. Just I have like another question, but like just like touch more on this. You like spoke about honesty, and I really do appreciate that in like artists or like creatives, like being honest and like what it. And you said you can't really hide your thoughts, which is like very obvious in your work. Um, I feel like a couple artists are actually very good at like hiding their thoughts and like being honest with like what like let me just put it this way, like they're not exactly, well, I'm not trying to say no one is like vulnerable, but I feel like to create like a certain work, there's this level of vulnerability that like it demands of you, right? So would you say you're like vulnerable with like what you do as a designer or as an artist?
I try to be. I try to be vulnerable. It's not the easiest thing to do, but again, I feel like you kind of have to be in a sense. Or for me, I feel like I have to be vulnerable and able to communicate my emotions like that in order to be genuine. Like especially because all my collections and all my creations, I usually like to relate to myself, but also relate to society. I need to be able to be vulnerable, or else it just doesn't communicate very well, I would say. Um, it just doesn't come across as true. Like, because my designs are like a reflection of who I am and it's a reflection of who I've been and what I've learned. If I'm not vulnerable, it just doesn't feel right and just doesn't look right personally.
Okay, I agree with that as well. Yes. Okay, good. I don't really have way too many questions, just like two more questions, and we should be done with this. Um, so with the emotional translation right in mind, this collection featured like six distinct looks. Could you walk us through like the unique story for like each of the looks, like go into details just for like, because I know you have all of them in your head, like you were specific about all of these looks. I really want to know what each of them means to you and the unique story behind them.
Of course.
Yeah.
So the first look is the one with the t-shirt kind of corset that wraps around this like shirt and tie at the top. So it's like this is like kind of the beginning, obviously, where it's like you're very contemplating between needing to grow up but wanting to stay a child. So like this t-shirt like corset like binds you, and it's this idea of how like memories and like childhood experiences kind of hold you back in a sense that you want to stay a child forever, but obviously you can't. And so that's why you're trying to grow up by putting this shirt and like tie on. But then if you look closely, the tie is like a zip up tie. So it's like you still don't know how to tie a tie. You still can't like fully become an adult yet. And then at the bottom, we have these like cargo shorts that kind of essentially remind us of like what we used to wear when we were kids. That are, and then on these cargo shorts, we have this like chain that has all these different elements. I think I put like a button. I also had like a little keychain and all these little random things that kind of reminisce of our childhood. But then connected to these cargo shorts are these kind of long, I guess not sleeves, but like these long like leg attachments that are shaped like trousers, like dress pants, essentially in a way that like drags you down. So it's this idea of like needing to become an adult, but that thought is like kind of dragging you down, holding you back. And then around the waist, there's like you have the big not like first place blue ribbon, which is essentially like this idea of when you were a child, you used to be like number one, and then you were always like winning. But as you grow up, that kind of fades away. And but you're still holding on to this idea of you're like the best, and you trying to still be yourself in a way. And then this moves on to the second look where it evolves into this idea of, okay, now you actually have to kind of grow up. And so you're trying to hide your past, let go of this like childhood, and just really transform yourself into a new person as you grow up kind of thing. Not necessarily what you have to do, but that's how I felt in the moment when I was designing it. So I created a look that puts like this suit like dress on top of this skirt, where the skirt is made up of my past projects and all these different fabrics, in a sense that it reminds us of this idea of like trying to hide your past, trying to let go of what you learned, and like, it's like kind of forget your past and move on kind of thing.
Mm. Mm.
And then the third look is like your attempt at being an adult, where it's like you're wearing a suit essentially, but these pants are way too big on you because you don't have your own pants that fit you. And then you're wearing this jacket, but it's not really, it's kind of falling off. That's why the sleeve's falling off. And then the back is a backpack in a way that it's like you're carrying this weight of responsibilities. You're carrying the weight of growing up. And that's why you have like the phones, like you have like all these tasks to keep up with. That also connects to, like the sticky notes on the pants. It's like you have all these things you have to like take care of, all these things you have to do as you grow up. And then the fourth look is like you're like conforming to society, and that's why you're like bound up to this suit. It's like a corset that holds you in, holds you tight. It's this idea that you're like conforming to society, like trying to keep up with what you're expected to be as an adult, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then the skirt or like skirt, I would say, is there's like a big watch face, like a clock on it to remind us of like time passing by, and like you're repeating every day the same thing every day kind of thing as you grow up. Not necessarily true, but I guess it's like a reflection of how we feel like we have to be when we grow up. Is like time just fades away in a
Mm-hmm.
sense. If sorry, I know I'm kind of like jumbling. But yeah,
You know,
yeah,
yeah.
essentially it's like this idea of, yeah, you're running out of time, what do you do? But then this like bound up look and the fifth look transforms. The fifth look is like a transformation in the sense that you're really starting to learn about yourself. You're starting to figure out that growing up isn't necessarily about conforming to society, like listening to what people think or about you, or listening to what you think you need to be, and more so becoming your true self. And so that's why you're peeling off these layers, and then you have this like kind of suit jacket that's falling off of you, that's turning from black to white. And then you have like this kind of intricate top that's made up of all these like lace and delicate materials, again showing this idea of vulnerability and truly becoming yourself. And then you have things like these little jewels and beads that like surround the top, essentially talking about this idea of like beauty, and then inner peace. And then one thing I forgot to mention is the keys. In the first few looks, the keys are meant to symbolize like responsibility and you carrying all this like these things that you have to do. But in this fifth look, the keys are meant to symbolize this idea of opening new doors. So you have all these keys to open new possibilities as you grow up. As you grow up, you learn more. And so you're able to unlock these new paths for yourself in a sense. And then finally, in the sixth look, this is like the grand finale where it's like kind of, I wouldn't say I'm there yet, but it's more like, how do you say this? Like a vision of who I want to be when I grow up, kind of thing, where
Mhm.
it's like you still have that elegance of growing up and you still have that formality in a sense that you're wearing a suit and that's why it's like a white blazer and you have like the red tie, but also you still have this childlike innocence and you have all of these like creative thoughts that you keep with you. Like you don't necessarily throw these away like you did in the past looks. For example, like in the second look, you're hiding your past and you're concealing your past. But in this last look, it's more like you're accepting yourself as who you are, and therefore you're wearing all these different colors and patterns and shapes. And yeah, that's kind of the gist of my collection.
Wow, wow. I long to like hear you like explain about this. So me being able to like be here and like just hear you like talk about each of the looks and like how they flow into themselves and like how they just go in order makes so much sense to me. And I do resonate with like a lot of what you said. A lot of what you said I do resonate. And I believe so many people out there as well would or they already do like understand what this connection is. And I hope this actually helps them understand even deeper, just like it did for me. I there's for the third look, there was a landline phone. I feel like
Yes.
we missed that. What's the significance of that, or like what does that actually point out in that particular look? Because that's one of my favorite looks.
Mhm.
Yeah.
The phone essentially, I mean, it has several meanings, but one of the biggest ones is like it just reminds first the reason why I got it was like I reminded me of like an office and like work. It's like you're
Mm,
constantly having to pick up the phone, like answer
mm,
the phone because you have all these responsibilities that you have to take care of. And like I like how the cord was hanging out just because it's like you're like connected to like bound to it in a sense. But also in a sense, it's something that I don't know, it just kind of was like, how do you say this? Like not not like you're kind of I just like I just left it. Originally, I was gonna like kind of embed it into like the look, as in like sew it on, but I just left it hanging as a way of like you have all these tasks that you can't keep up with, and that's why you're like throwing the
and
phone
like
away, kind of
dangling and stuff.
thing.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
exactly.
yeah, yeah.
And so yeah, that's part of this story.
Okay, that's really really good. I want to keep pointing out on like certain stuffs that I really like about like each of the looks. You spoke about the keys, like having because there was this one look where it had like so many keys, like it had like keys going. And then you said it's like for opportunities like opening doors and that's like so emotional like beautiful because growing up as an adult, like this is like there are like certain stuff that you have to like go through. There are like situations that you find yourself. There's like growth. There's like constant movement. Like that's why I call it. There's like
Yes,
so
yes,
it's just
yes.
like those keys make so much sense. The very first look, there was a point where you said you have this idea of yourself as being number one, and then you grow up, and then you're trying to like still have that idea in your head. I feel like a lot of us should be able to resonate with this, like relate to this, because I mean it's just what it is. But growing up to be an adult, you get to realize so many stuff as not as what they seem, I guess, and you have to find a way to, I mean, like get used to it or I don't know, find a way to like get around it basically. It's a beautiful, beautiful explanation. I really like the story behind all of those looks. I have one last question for you, and
Of
this
course.
should be it. So, looking ahead, what does the future of your design practice look like? And are there any figures in the industry where you currently look up to, or they inspire your trajectory?
Looking ahead, um, interesting because I feel like I'm still in in a way, like kind of attached to the second collection in a way that I'm still trying to figure out who I am as I grow up.
Yeah.
But one thing I can say is that I'll definitely keep creating. That's one thing that won't change, is because that's part of who I am. That, and I know that for sure. And I still have all these different stories that I want to pass out, all these different stories that I want to turn into looks. So that will change. But yeah, I'm still trying to figure out who I am as I
Yeah.
grow up. And also people that I look up to. I don't necessarily have one specific person that comes to mind right now,
Mm.
but just creative people in general. I feel like we all have such different ideas, different processes. Like when I see like different like fashion designers like on social media and like even at fashion shows and stuff, I feel like the way those people make things are so different from how I make things. So in a way that inspires me, just because it gets my creative process going, in that I start to think about how can I do things differently while also keeping my way of doing things, and how can I incorporate all these different like inspirations into new different techniques and new different looks. So in a way, I feel like the people that I see online in a general sense do
Yeah.
influence me.
Okay. That's good. That's good. So this brings us to the end of this interview. And our passionate guy wishes you the best in your creative journey. Once again, thank you very much for taking the time to join us
Thank you,
today.
thank you.
I really appreciate it. It means a lot to us. And I
I
hope you
love
have
it.
an amazing, amazing day.
You too.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Have a
you.
good one. Bye.
Bye.